Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the Extra Mile. My name is Gene Gurkoff. It is a beautiful, cold morning here in New York City, February 1st, 2018. And as always, I'm with my hype man, the mighty Max Gurkoff. But today, Max is not in his stroller. He is walking right next to me. Yes, that's right. Big news in the Gurkoff household. Mighty Max is now Mobile Max. And he is walking and running all over the place. Got to get this kid some charity miles. We've got some other big news for you today because today's interview is an interview that I recorded back in December with the Meb Keflezghi. None other, the legend, one of the most accomplished runners of all time, certainly one of the most beloved. Meb is the only person to win the New York City Marathon, the Boston Marathon, and an Olympic medal. But beyond his athletic accomplishments, he has truly transcended sport. He's inspired millions of people with his story, his grit, and his grace. And I am truly honored to have had the opportunity to walk with him and grateful that he took the time to share his story and his wisdom with all of us. Before we get into it, though, I do want to send a huge shout out to a friend of mine, Bill Bucklew. Many of you might remember the interview that I recorded with Bill back when I was in Chicago over the summer, and we went for a really nice group run. And Bill was there, and he shared his story with us. Bill has Parkinson's disease, and on Thanksgiving of last year, not too long ago, he stood with his feet in the Atlantic Ocean, and yesterday, January 31st, not too long after that, he stood with his feet in the Pacific Ocean. And the way that he got from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean is that he ran and he walked over 2,500 miles, averaging over 35 miles a day. And it is just truly incredible. Huge shout out to Bill. Huge shout out to all of you for joining us today. I hope that you are as inspired by Meb as I am, so please turn up your volume and turn on your charity miles and come along for the walk or the run with me and Meb Keflezghi in Austin, Texas. Every mile matters. Where are you going, Max? Come on. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Extra Mile. It is a beautiful day in Austin, Texas, and I am walking downtown with a very special guest. Only need to say one name, and many of you out there will know who he is. Meb Keflezghi, who is just a legend. He's the only person to have won an Olympic medal, win the New York City Marathon, and win the Boston Marathon, and one of the most accomplished distance runners of all time, and one of the most loved. And he's also an incredible humanitarian and has just an amazingly inspiring life story. And Meb, I'm so honored that you're here to walk with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Hope we can talk and while you walk or run or bike this moment and make it easy. They're going the extra mile a little easier.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're kind of walking through downtown Austin right now, and I apologize for some of the noise. There's some construction going on. We're going to try to get closer to the river where it might be a little bit less noisy, but I'm really grateful for Meb taking the time to walk with us and didn't kind of want to waste a minute by not recording our conversation as we walk down to the river. So Meb, thank you for joining us. Let's just I think that most of our members know your background and your biography, but in case some of our members don't, let's just say you immigrated to the United States from Eritrea when you were how old?
I left Eritrea when I was 10 years old and moved to Italy for a year and a half, and then came to the U.S. when I was 12 years old.
Okay, and so where is Eritrea?
Eritrea is in the Horn of Africa, northeast of Africa, bordering the Red Sea, Ethiopia, and then a little bit of Somalia. So it's northeast of Africa.
And you left there when you were 10. What was life like in Eritrea when you were living there?
Life in Eritrea was difficult. Obviously, it still is challenging because it's a third world country. And to be able to just survive is difficult. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know what next week brings or next year. So it's kind of day-to-day chores to growing up in a village where there's no electricity or no running water. That means you gotta fish for yourself. And
you fish for yourself.
Yeah, sometimes I remember I was so poor that so hungry that I ate dirt to survive. So whatever way of survival is the thing in Eritrea. And I wasn't the only one that did it. The soldiers did it. and you keep trying to get as enough food in the table, but then you have to share it with your brothers and sisters, and you gotta boil your water, gotta have wood to burn or to cook your food and all those things. So we take a lot of things for granted here in the U.S.
Yes, we do. And so you really remember what childhood. I mean, you were conscious and you have memories from being 10. I mean, that's incredible. You said you ate dirt to survive. Do you have specific memories in your mind of times that were particularly challenging that maybe you drew from later in life, and other moments that were challenging for you?
Almost definitely. I mean, life is a struggle and a challenge, and a marathon is that way. And I think my childhood memory kind of survived me well, because when you're running there, especially marathon, you're trying to survive as much as you can, because it hurts. You hit the wall. You might miss your fluid station, but you got to say, you know what, you got to keep going forward. And at the same time, sometimes feel like stopping, and I have stopped in many of my marathons, but you have it better off than most people do. So don't be resilient, don't give up, and so you kind of retrace your memory lane a little bit, and don't take things for granted. When it clicks, marathon's a beautiful thing, but when you struggle, it's a challenge. So those characteristics that I learned as a child, survival and getting to the finish line, is very important to me, and that's what everybody else is trying to do.
So, and at that time, what year was this in Eritrea?
Eritrea was in the war for 31 years, from 1961 to 1991, and I came to the U.S. in 1987, October 21st.
Amazing. And so you mentioned there...
Just 30 years ago.
30 years ago, you came to the United States.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that Eritrea was in a war for 30 years.
30-year war against Ethiopia for independence. Eritrea is in a great location in terms of the Red Sea, but other than that, is third world country where you have to agricultural, and there's no import export as much yet. So survival of if it rains, you have a lot of grain and you're gonna harvest a lot, and if it doesn't, and then you better hope that you saved it from the previous years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how many brothers and sisters did you have when you moved to the United States?
So I have 7 were born in Eritrea, and 1 born in Italy, and 3 born here. So I'm one of 11.
Oh my God,
yeah.
That's a big family.
It's a big family.
Well, we go this way.
There's a car behind us.
Wrap around. So that's a lot of brothers and sisters. Do they all run?
No, not everybody run. My 2 oldest brothers ran, and my oldest sister played basketball in high school. But I think my sister played badminton, and we all grew up around athletics. My dad especially encouraged us to do athletics, and took us to the parks and tried to make the most of it.
So your parents, how did they make the decision or become lucky enough to be able to emigrate out of Eritrea to Italy and then ultimately the United States?
Well, my dad was wanted by the Ethiopian soldiers, so he was going to get prison or get killed, and my mom kind of have to encourage him to leave, because if your dad is arrested or in prison or killed, he's not going to be any use. So
why was he wanted by the soldiers?
Because he probably was. I think he was helping out with the Ethiopian Eritrean soldiers, aiding them information or things like that. So he was wanted, so he has to escape. And then my mom encouraged him to take that trek to Sudan. So he has to walk to Sudan, which is about, if you go direct, it's 225 miles. But I was just talking to him about a month ago. It probably was more like a 300 miles or maybe more if you don't go to the shortest cut, because you got to go up and down, hideaway and all those things.
So he walked to Sudan.
Yeah, which is, and the tangent is 225 miles or so, but I'm pretty sure he didn't take the tangents.
Wow.
So but they promised each other that my mom was expecting. She had 5 kids, 1 on the way, and she said, if it's a girl, call her Amina. if it's a boy, call him Bimnet, which means that one day they will make it a peace land and get reunited. And we were separated for 5 years from our father, and eventually connected in Italy.
Wow. So how old were you at the time that he left?
I was 5. So
You're 5.
From 5 to 10, there was no interaction with my dad.
Oh my goodness. And then, so you lived with your mom and your brothers and sisters.
Yep.
And then how did it come that you were able to leave and become reunited with him?
So through hard work and everybody do their team effort. My mom has to do her job to be able to make sure we were fed. Through harvest, it's not like you go to the store and get it's not going to the store and get a milk or bread and things like that. You gotta harvest it, and if it rains, good, and if it doesn't, then we are out of luck. But then probably just be able to fish for herself, ask for help, and people would cut the plantation for her, and then have to separate the haze from the seeds and all those things, and then my dad has to get 2 different jobs to escape from Sudan to Italy. And then but we had an angel in Letamico who was my dad's previous girlfriend, who I have a sister from. She helped him escape from Sudan to Italy. So it's a lot of team. And then her boss, which when he went there, they work under one Dr. Brindisi. Both work under Dr. Brindisi, and he was their boss. And he asked them, basically asked them if he can, my dad asked him if he can loan him 10 million lira in 1986. That was about $6,000 US.
Wow.
And he says, how many, is that to save one person or to save everybody? And they assured him that they're going to save 7 people. And he says, well, come back Wednesday. And he came back on Wednesday and he gave them 10 million cash, 10 million lira cash. And he said, this is not a loan, this is a gift. And that's how we got saved. So the generosity of Letamico and Dr. Brindisi and my dad's tenacity and hard work, and my mom's commitment to help us escape to a better land.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to, you hear about my success and about the grassroots, how it all developed. There was generosity and people helping each other, and you can never repay them, but I'm thankful for the people that created that opportunity for me.
And are you still in touch with any of those people?
Oh, most definitely. Unfortunately, we just lost Letamico in June, end of June, and then I missed Dr. Brindisi by a week and a half, 2 weeks when I went to visit him in Italy. And but my dad was in touch with them. He showed them what up to college level, and then even as a professional, how his generosity has paid off for his kids, because all my brothers and sisters have gone to do great things through their ability to education and being positive contributors to society.
That is incredible. What a legacy. Where in Italy did your father go, and where did you go when you went to meet him?
Oh, when we lived in Milano, Italy. First time, he helped us. We met him in Athens, so we met in Athens and we stayed there for a week, and then eventually went to Italy where he was living and working. And so, I love Italy, and I lived there for a long time.
So you lived there for how long? Like a year, you said?
Yeah, we were there for a year and a half.
And why did you decide to move from Italy to the United States? Was that always the plan, or was there something that brought you?
No, there was no plan. It was all about survival.
Oh, God.
So we tried to go to Canada. We went to Sweden. They kept us in a refugee camp kind of thing for a week. They sent us back to Italy, and after Italy, we worked a lot of hustle and bustle to come to the United States. And my sister Ruth, who was living in San Diego, was able to sponsor us to come and help with the Red Cross. I believe we came to San Diego.
Incredible. So you come to the United States, you come to San Diego. What was your impression of the United States when you arrived?
Well, my impression of the United States was different, because bear in mind, I grew up without running water and no electricity, and first time I saw TV when I was 10-year-old in Italy, and I can understand how people fit in the TV, so I had to go check behind the TV. Well, this is way before flat screen TVs, obviously, but coming to the U.S. was different in many ways, because in Italy it was more homogeneous, more Italian and hear a few like African American or blacks that were there, but coming to the U.S. it was a lot more melting pot, to say the least. Not that I understood what the geography or where people come from, but it was definitely bigger streets, bigger cars, and the food is different, you know. And we hated apple, especially when we came to Italy. We hated apple; it was too sour for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all those things.
You don't have apples in Eritrea.
I'm pretty sure we did, but you know, you better be wealthy to have it.
Yeah. Wow. And so
it was different here in the U.S. It was very definitely.
And your parents enroll you in school right away, or?
Yeah, within a month or so. But but he woke us up 4:30 a.m. to learn English through the dictionary. So
really,
before we went to school, this is not even on the weekend. It was more get up and learn through the dictionary. And we had a Eritrean, which is Tigrinya, the native tongue, and English, and we started learning that way. So it was.
Go on this path over here.
Yeah,
that'd be a little quieter on this path. So how do we just like open the dictionary and find a word and you would learn it, or
yeah. Write it down maybe 10 times or something, you know.
That's funny. Well, I kind of have a funny story about that. When I was in 5th grade, we had to like read books, and like the teacher said, if you come to a word that you don't know what it is, I want you every week to have 3 words that you write down and you look up in the dictionary and find what the word is. And, you know, I had to write it in my journal and then give it to the teacher. But I was really lazy and I wasn't reading the book, so every week I would just open the dictionary and point to a word, and then I would write that in my journal. And then one week my teacher called me up. She's like, Gene, I want to talk to you. Like, what books are you reading? And I said, I had like a blank look on my face. She's like, because she pointed to a word that I had just randomly picked out of the dictionary, was the word lingerie. And I would talk with my teacher about that. I didn't know even what the definition of it that was.
Well, that sounds similar to my SAT test. You know, my SAT test, because I just speak English and I have to learn. You know, so when I came to the SAT test, it was mini, many, more, and guess, because you know, you have roots and it was this Latin word of this and this and this and that. I mean, you're trying to learn the ABCs when you're in the 6th grade and 7th grade. You know.
Yeah.
And, that's not what the SAT was created for, so it was a little bit unfair advantage, but disadvantage, that is. But you know, survival, and got what I need to get to college, and got my UCLA degree. So it's not
and 4
where
NCAA championships.
Where you start, but how you finish.
Yeah, that's right. And 4 NCAA championships. And by the way, so also when you came to the U.S. is when you started running, right?
I was. So I was 12-year-old. I ran. They put me in 6th grade because of my age. My lack of English or knowing English. So they. And then the next year I was in 7th grade, and Coach DeClore said, my PE teacher said, if you run hard, you're gonna get A or B for the whole class. If you mess around or goof around, you're gonna get D or F. Well, I want to get that A, and if you run 6:15 for the mile, the 7th grade boys, you get an A. You get a t-shirt that says Roosevelt My Club t-shirt. It was the coolest shirt ever. And
what did it say?
Roosevelt Junior High My Club shirt. So
Roosevelt, and you had to run a 6:15 to get the t-shirt.
Yeah, and I took off running hard. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. What they told us is USA is a land of opportunity. Don't take things for granted. Work hard. So I want to get that A and a t-shirt, and end up running a 5:20 mile.
First time running a mile.
First time, 7th grade, and he goes, "You're gonna go to the Olympics." And he called the high school coach and says, "Hey, we have an Olympian here because my 2 oldest brother had the t-shirt that they wore, and I wanted that shirt, you know." And he goes, "Well, you're gonna go to the Olympics." I have no idea what the Olympics were, and bear in mind, I came in 1987. This is like probably September of '88, and September obviously was in Seoul and the Olympics. I didn't know about that. I should be watching on TV, but you know, I didn't follow Olympics by any means. So I have to go to my dad and ask him that evening, like, PE teacher said this. He's like, "No." He said, "My dad asked me, what did you run?" I said, "I ran 5:20. He's like, "Don't lie. Even your brothers didn't run that fast." And it was 5:20.
That's
by the end of the year, I improved by 10 seconds. So I was around 5:10 by the end of the year.
And you're 12 years old.
I was 13 now.
13.
Yeah.
Wow. That's lights out, man.
Yeah.
And do you remember it? Like, do you remember the experience of it, or do you?
Oh yeah, I
remember
remember.
what it was like.
I remember. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was running around baseball field, the softball field, going around the campus. I can retrace it. But yeah, you know, and I actually gone back to get for TV interviews and other things for the documentary that we went and not ran or walked it, but we kind of saw the course. So yeah, I remember very really going over to the ramp of the campus, and you know, some kids are lazy, so the teacher, the Lord, has to keep his eyes on the guys that are behind, so they don't take shortcuts or don't goof around, and he has to keep an eye who's running 5:20. So that was a tough task on him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so from there, obviously, had an illustrious career in high school, made it to UCLA. You won 4 NCAA championships, and you made the Olympics.
20 years ago, 20 years ago this year, 2097 is when I ran 4 NCAA titles, and that's the only time I ever crossed my mind, maybe as a professional. But before that, I was like, academics, and I thought about it, but I want to make sure I get my UCLA degree. And
what did you study at UCLA?
I studied communication and business at UCLA. So once I got the diploma, then I gave running a priority. But before that, I would stay up until midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to do those papers. You know, some people can write papers like that. For those of us that have to learn English in 7th grade, the first words, it took extra long. So it's like a marathon, you know, you have the back of the pack or the middle of the pack. That was me. Well, when it came to academics, I struggled, but I worked very hard, just like those people that run the marathons.
Yeah. So, had you not become a professional runner, what did you think that you might want to have done?
Oh, my aspiration was to be a doctor or to be engineering, and in fact, I took a few classes in those departments when I was at UCLA. Yeah. So, I always enjoyed mathematics and science, not biology, but chemistry and physics. I was in AP physics when I was in high school.
Wow.
And
so you're not a back of the packer. I mean, I think you're sandbagging us a little bit.
Under promise over delivery.
Wow. Yeah. So you did win 4 NCAA championships, and obviously worked extremely hard at that. And you wrote a really great book about, you know, setting goals and commitment, which I'll put a link to in the show notes for everybody to read. But then you did go to the Olympics. Well, let's share a little bit with everybody about what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, more extensive information is on Run to Overcome, my autobiography, and Meb Keflezghi, the training book advice. But yeah, going to the Olympics was experience of a lifetime, especially Sydney. 17 years ago, I made my first Olympic team after I graduated college. That was big weight off my shoulders. So I'm like, okay, let me see this, whatever my high school classmates or teammates wrote in my yearbook. See you at the Olympics, see you with the medals and all those things. I didn't believe in myself, but they believed in me. And so I made the 10K team in Sydney, Australia. They had a prelim for the 10K, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And went out and, I finished 12th. I stayed in the village, got the flu that was going around. So I stayed training camp. So I did everything that I can. The Olympic experience was a lot of fun. And but I also got sick. But at the same time, I ended up getting 12th place.
12th place in the 10K.
In the 10K. And I made myself a promise or goal to come back in the next 4 years to be able to win a medal for our country. And that's what I didn't know it was going to be the marathon, but I was thinking more in the 10K. But fortunately for me, I was able to go back and see the victory of getting a silver medal at the Athens Olympics. I had a choice to do the 10K and the marathon. I won the trials in the 10K. I was runner-up to Culpeper in the marathon, but to be in Athens where the Olympics started, to be in Greece where the Olympics started, to be in Athens to run the original course of Eritrea and all those things, I couldn't pass it on. And
right.
I was hoping to do something great, and came home with a silver medal after 28 years for the U.S.
Silver medal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the most epic kind of finishes in marathon history when you did that. Can you maybe describe for me and for the people listening, like, what was going through your mind in like the later miles of that race and like what you were thinking about?
Oh, going through the Athens race, it was more like a movie, like a flashback of kids, to the learning English, or somebody tell me you're going to go to the Olympics, and then it was our dream to be able to make an Olympic. But now you are representing your country, wearing that jersey, and winning a medal for your country. It's priceless. It's hard to put in words, but it was just a lot of fun, and it hurt, of course, but it's a dream is being realized, and it was only my 4th marathon, so right. I didn't take too much risk either, just because I know my first one was horrible in New York. I didn't want to do another marathon ever again, and I was undertrained for the trial, so you try to evaluate, and 5K, when Stefano Boldini, the eventually winner, took off, I said, well, 5K is a long way, you can't go, and I held back a little bit, and I threw my hat away at one mile left to try to go after him, but he was having a fabulous day just like I was, and I was just content to get a medal.
Wow.
And Dina Castro was there. She won the women's bronze medal, so to be in Mammoth Lakes where we trained together, and it was an awesome feeling.
Incredible. Yeah, I saw Dina this morning over at the expo today. So you win the Olympic silver medal, you're a national hero, you come back, and then, what was that like for you coming back? What was some of the reception that you got from in the United States and from the running community?
Well, it was pretty neat to be able to come back and win a silver medal. That summer's when I met my wife now, Jordanos. I promised her, I asked her to come visit me in Mammoth Lake because I was pretty serious about getting ready for the Olympics, and she says, no, the man has to come visit first. And I'm like, okay, but it has to be after the Olympics. So I was so focused on the Olympics. And then after I won it, that's the first place I went to in Tampa, Florida, where she resides. And she tried to convince me to go to see my family. But the reception I got after I got back was pretty cool. A lot of runners from San Diego got together, get together in La Jolla. But the Eritrean community kind of waited me with a limousine at the airport and took me to the Eritrean Community Center and celebrated the day. So it was a lot of fun, and that kind of changed, probably in the profile of higher, what do you do, what you don't do, or what is taken serious. And I was very appreciative for the gratitude that people gave me on my hard work to get the medal.
And a lot of people would say, I won a silver medal, like that, I've achieved the dream, but you kept going. And
and for me, it was only my 4th marathon. In fact, I missed going to the White House that year because most people thought it was a fluke that this guy just got lucky, but I wanted to prove people wrong. So I went and trained my butt off in Mammoth Lakes, and didn't visit the White House. I was an Olympian, get invited to go to the White House. I didn't make that. I didn't miss my 10-year reunion, high school, and because I wanted to show people that, hey, that silver medal was not a fluke. I'm serious about this, and came back 70 days later, got second in New York City Marathon behind the guy that DNF. He didn't finish at the Olympics, so Hendrik Ramala. So it's it's been fun. And
so you came back at second at the New York City Marathon.
Yeah, and then I finished third in New York in 2005, and then third in Boston. And people, you are measured according to how you did in Boston. If you're a distance runner, you're a distance runner. Yeah. Have you qualified for the Boston Marathon? I used to say, no, I haven't done the Boston Marathon. But then when I finished third, I'm like, that's good enough. And then, Beijing, you want to go to Beijing, win another medal for our country, or you want to defend your title. But then you don't always get your dreads. I didn't make it to Beijing, but then you're like, okay, you know what? I got to make a new goal. And my personal Olympic is the New York City Marathon. I want to win that race. I always wanted to, and I won in 2009. And then now you can say, when people ask you, you're a distance runner? Did you qualify for Boston? They're like, no, I won the Boston Marathon. They're like, what? You did what? And then it just changes their face. So I got stories to tell.
It's amazing. So, you just said it. You won Olympic silver medal. You won the New York City Marathon, and you won the Boston Marathon. What?
I can retire now.
And you're retiring now. But were those experiences similar? Were they different? Were you drawing on something different in those experiences that helped you? What? I would love to know a little bit more about each one of
They were all different, and the reason is like, which one do you like better? It's kind of having to have $3. They ask me which kid I like better. I'm really? A father. I like them all. Right, but I've been fortunate to have won those accolades. But Athens was, they're all different. And Athens was different because I was an athlete who was pursuing an Olympic dream and winning a medal for your country. And I did that. And then New York was different because New York was where you think you're going to go to Beijing and win another medal, but you didn't make the Olympic team. Everybody wrote you off, and you want to prove people wrong and say, okay, I'm going to make this is my Olympics. I want to beat as many Olympians, competitive guy. I want to beat as many Olympians as I can.
Right.
And came back and won that.
It's a comeback.
It's a comeback, and that was my personal gold medal for me. But then the Boston was different because it was everything. It was not even about running. It's all about camaraderie and friendship and Owen Boylston Street because of the horrific effect of 2013 bombing. So it wasn't even like, oh, how fast you gonna run or whatever. It's just like, I'm gonna give it all that I got. We are 36,000 people deep running this Boylston Street or the Boston Marathon. We want to own it and show that we can come back. This bombing not gonna stop us and all those things. So to be able to pull that victory was huge for us. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Thanks.
So, we're just walking here and people are saying hi to Meb.
How are you?
How's it going?
Good job, you guys. Yeah.
Enjoy the run.
So yeah, so that's what Boston did.
Yeah. So we're just walking down on the river here in Austin, and it's a big running path, and folks are stopping and saying hi to Meb. So, are you telling yourself that story when you're running, like in New York, and it's mile 24, and people are starting to make moves? Is that the story that you're telling yourself? You know, I want. Sure. These folks would like to get a picture with Meb. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'll just pause it. Hold on.
That's all. Oh, not saying this.
All right, we're back. Just took a quick picture.
Thank you.
So are you telling yourself that story, like mile 24, 25, people are starting to make moves and you're feeling that pain and you've got to come to that moment of truth about what you're going to do? Are you saying, all right, now this is my time. I'm here to prove everybody wrong. Or is there another story that you're telling yourself? Are you drawing on your training? Like, what is going through your mind in that moment?
You know, I've never been the favorite in any of my races. Whether it was a 5K, 10K.
Well, you're the favorite.
You can still, the favorite. Crowd's favorite.
You're the crowd's favorite.
Crowd's favorite, that's right. But people usually, when they talk about me and races, they never give me the due credit. You know, I understand.
Yep.
Respect is earned. Titles are earned.
Yeah.
But the reason I like running is once the gun goes off, it's you and the road and the people among you. You know, there's no timeout, there's no defense. You just go out there, do what you do best. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But it's always a learning experience.
Yep.
And I just try to push. I get a lot of interacting with the crowd. I love giving them thumbs up, and they give me energy when they say "Go USA" if I'm wearing the USA jersey, or "Go Meb" if they read my name and scream my name off. I love that. It's energy for me. And you know, you're like 2 feet away, whereas on the track you're in a stadium, and cross country you're far away. So I want to prove people wrong. I want to be able to be the best athlete that I can be, and I'm not shy away from congratulating my competitors. You know, when they beat me out clear. I'm there to celebrate with them and congratulate them, and you know, I try to be there for a couple to 3 minutes to congratulate people finishing, because we work hard. We all work hard, and sometimes things click and other times they don't. But I'm fortunate enough to have the career that I have through ups and downs and challenges, and overcoming obstacles, as it is in the marathon, as it is in life. So, but sometimes you get disappointed in life, and you never give up. You know, that's what I have. You know, people connect with me because I give them hope. That don't give up on the dreams. It might be a delay gratification than instant gratification, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, is what I tell people.
And that's interesting. So I was going to ask a little bit more about Boston and New York, but I think that's a great thing to kind of go deeper on. What is it that you have found in running that has given you that perspective, and how do you think that people are able to find that perspective for themselves through running? For that metaphor of hope that you just said.
Well, running is something that is progressive. You know, it's not achieved overnight. I mean, you can't just wake up and say, I'm going to do a marathon tomorrow. There's a process into it, and that's what life is. You know, you can't jump from 5th grade to 10th grade, you better take exam, you better do, unless you're a genius, obviously.
Yeah.
But everything has a process, and I trust in the system of making small progress and do things right and diligently, and life is full of richness if you can do that. And for me, through running, you can see that you can measure your progress. You are your own science. What I do might not work for you, but because of the beauty of our sport is you can be 7-year-old, you can be 35-year-old, you can be 40-year-old, or you can be male or female. We don't know what your political belief is, but we are united to be one journey together for 13.1 miles or 5K, 10K, all a full marathon. So in that process, you think of the friendship that you make, and you know what? I didn't do it today, but somebody else did. You're happy for the person next to you because, hey, I just ran a PR. Wow, you give them a hug, even though you're disappointed with your point because you missed qualifying for Boston or you didn't hit your target. But the sportsmanship that you build is happiness for others. And I love for me to sweat, go for a run, and come back and say, you know what? I made that 10-mile run like this morning. A huge accomplishment. It feels I haven't had tea or haven't had coffee. That's my energy. Can I use other stuff? Absolutely, like caffeine or tea. I love having those, but sometimes I don't need that. I can just go run. The friendship that I ran with Liam Manzano or Nick Simmons today and other people in the running world, it was 15 of us, 17 of us just met up at 7:30, go for a run, and it's fun.
That's awesome. Your running has also gotten, as you just kind of alluded to, you've gotten to meet some incredible people, some of whom are very accomplished runners, some of whom are maybe starting their running journey or somewhere else in their running journey. You're going down to the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon this afternoon for this weekend, and you're going to be meeting and greeting runners down there, handing out medals to people as they come across the line. What is that like for you to share that experience with people?
I am a gifted runner, but also my other gift is interacting with people. So for me, I enjoy it. It's to be able to shake hands or to be able to give a hug or to give them a high five or put a medal around their neck. It's a beautiful thing. I don't know. This guy been running. He was running when I was running this morning at 7 o'clock. Yeah.
So, really? He's been running that long? Cause
I don't know if it's been that long.
It's 12:15 now.
Well, I think he probably changed and came back again. But
Wow.
yeah, no, it's just, running is something that is attainable, and you want to make sure people that do that. Sometimes, never thought people can run a 5K, and the next thing you know is they're doing a 10K, and then the next thing they know is a half marathon. In the process, hopefully they learn about the history of the sport, and they get to know me and other runners that have come through that journey. And when they see you when they see the finish line, it's pretty awesome. They go, whoa, it's Meb, and then all of a sudden, spark of energy. Even though they were like this, exhausted and tired, and they're like, and then they see you, they're like, oh man, I got to get a picture. And so they find an energy for that, So for me, it's a lot of fun to do that with the rock and roll or other races that I have participated, like the Dallas Marathon or Cherry Blossom and the Boston 10K, BA 10K, and all those things.
Is there any person or people that you've met that kind of stand out to you as having a particularly strong influence on you?
It's fun to be able to, like, Bill Rogers has been a big impact for me, to see him. Bill Rogers, the Boston Billy,
You want to turn it around? Yeah, we can turn it around. Go back this way, so I don't keep you out too long.
Yeah.
So Bill Rogers?
Bill Rogers has been a great influence. I met him probably 99 the first time, and I got his autograph, and he's a great example, very giving and also very just energetic person. And I've been ran into some great people, from the sports figure to President Barack Obama invited me for dinner at the White House. So Ryan has unveiled many great things in my life, which is after winning, getting a phone call from him, the President of the United States, meant a lot for me when I won the Boston. That's how big of a deal it was.
Yeah. When you go to these races, when you're handing out medals at the end of the Boston Marathon or shaking hands at a rock and roll race, have you made any friends through that, or made any connections through that have influenced you or changed you in any way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When everybody have a story, everybody has a story. So some people tell I met people who have said I was smoking for 22 years, and sometimes they would say 3 times a day or a pack a day or whatever. But I saw you win Boston, or I saw you win New York, or I saw you the Olympic Games, and I decided to change. So you hear those things, and sometimes you run into them when you're doing the giving up medals.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, you don't know what. Some people are cancer survivors.
Yeah.
Some people are doing the last chemo before they go. When I do meet and greet, before they do the next day race. So I hear it all, and it's what can I do? What I could give them is comfort them, give them a hug, give them high five. I say, glad you're here. Good luck on your chemo, then after this, but enjoy it tomorrow. So word of encouragement, and you give those things, and it's pretty awesome. And but everybody has a story to tell you. Or sometimes it was, hey, I met you. My dad took me to the Boston Marathon, and watching you win that race changed my life, and I want to be able to give back to sports. So you hear all kind of stories, and I'm just honored to share it with them with the rest.
At this stage, and you're now retiring. You just ran the New York City Marathon a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I ran the New York City Marathon too.
Awesome.
I was just a couple people behind you. You might not have
couple
seen.
minutes behind.
Just a couple minutes behind. You might not have seen. So New York City was your last competitive marathon, supposedly.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe he's just sandbagging us again. What before kind of launching into what's next, like what are you learning new at this stage in your career that you hadn't learned before?
Well, I think 3 things probably: recovery, taking a day off, and nutrition. Those are important things that I apply, especially as you get older. Because as runners, we have type A personality. We like to have routine, regimen, keep doing it the same way. And then if your knee is sore, you're like, oh, my knee is a little sore, but it'll get better after a mile or 2 warm up. Yeah, but if you're touching it in your knee or your hamstring and things like that, then you should probably take a day off, because the body and the mind is not the same feeling. So, rest is important. Nutrition is super important as you get older. And for me, I struggle in the marathon, but I think it's more stress than my digestion and things like that. And also just, enjoy it, because there'll be a time and period where you can't do this as much. So whether it was running 10 miles or doing my last marathon in New York, enjoy, be in the moment, be in the moment. And I think I do that a great job at that, but sometimes you can even appreciate that even more.
So will you be running New York City Marathon again as like a non-competitive runner? Or do you think you'll be able to do that?
Oh, definitely. I think I would love to do something like that. I think I got to see how it plays out. But if you ask me like before New York or Boston, when I did my last Boston in April, I'm like, why did I sign up for New York? But thank God for short memory, because marathons are brutal and painful and joyful at the same time. Going through the Boston Marathon, I'm like, I can't believe I signed up for another marathon. But now I feel like, okay, those are behind me, my competitive marathons behind me, but I would love to do some fun runs, pacing people, or bring awareness to charity and things like that for going forward, because I might not be competing, but I still love to exercise.
Yeah.
I think the sport has given me so much, and if I can give back to others, I would love to do it.
And you really have given back. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the Meb Foundation, and you kind of brought up the charity work that you are looking forward to doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the Meb Foundation?
Well, I try to live by my name, Meb, maintain excellent balance, but the Meb Foundation is maintain excellent balance through health, education, and fitness for young kids. You see, lunchtime or after work or before work, people exercise, and we know exercise is beneficial for us, so why not pass that to our kids? And in fact, if I have 3 daughters, and when we're in the house, it's like, stop running, they want to run, stop running. But when you take them to the park, you can be reading your text and they can be running around freely. So
right.
With the Meb Foundation, that's what I like to do, and give out shoes, give out for clothing, and give out for the people that have it all, give them advice on what training should be looking like, what kind of training they could be making, and be in position to give back.
How do you find the people that you're going to be giving the shoes and the training stuff to?
Yeah, some of them, like we just gave on my retirement, we gave a couple scholarships to my high school for students that are graduating on the behalf of the Meb Foundation, and in Eritrea or third world country, they can use any pair of shoes whenever you can give them. But also we get letters. We have given shoes on behalf of the Meb Foundation to prisons or for people can run. So exercise is it wasn't from people have helped out with shoes to give to, and it's not just the Meb Foundation, but on collaboration with the Meb Foundation to give out. So there's room. People, they wrote you some very touching letters because this is the first time I ever had tennis shoes. Whether it's so it is fun to be able to enjoy it and cherish it. But at the same time, when we went to Eritrea this summer with my wife and kids, and these kids are getting the first, on behalf of Skechers, they gave us some shoes. We delivered to them and put them in their hand, and they were so excited,
Wow.
And so it's priceless.
Was this your first time back in Eritrea since you left, or you've been back since?
No, I've been back in Eritrea. This is probably my 5th time. I was there last year, and then 2007 with my wife, and then 2002. So
what is it like to go back now?
Oh, it's different. It's a lot different. We went to Massawa, the Red Sea. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. I would never have ever dreamed doing that. But you can still affect those tanks that are displayed. There are tanks that are kind of in the air, just out of nowhere. That there was war. You can see those tanks. But at the same time, it's one of the peaceful country when you're there. So, is it protective? Absolutely. They believe in self-reliance. Isaias Afewerki has been there for almost 26 years. That I don't. I met him. I want him to change it to a newer generation leadership, but if there's somebody who cares as much as he does for the country, then it will be wise.
Amazing. Wow. That brings it full circle. What are you looking forward to most now on the next stages of this journey?
I always said, people ask me after college, where are you going to be in 5 years, or where are you going to be in 10 years? I just said, surround yourself with good people and trust God that has a better plan for me. So for me, where I'm going to be next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, I worked very hard to achieve the accolades that I have achieved, and I'm very thankful to have people look up to me as a role model to give back to the sport, and I have to be involved with the sport and give back with the Meb Foundation, and definitely spend more time with my wife and kids as well, and my parents as they get older. So there's work, and motivational speaking is one of the things that I've been doing on the side. I would love to do that, and coaching kind of motivational speaking and coaching goes hand in hand, and is an interest of mine. So we'll see where it takes me, but I'm on behalf of Skechers, I'm an ambassador for the sport with Skechers brand, and probably other brands that I've been sponsored with. Hopefully they can stay on board post-retirement, but because I'll still be exercising and giving back in a different capacity.
Well, and you've given back so much, and it's been a true honor for me, and I think for all of us here who are walking along with us, to have this opportunity to walk with you. And you mentioned being a motivational speaker. I think that you've motivated me a lot, and I think hopefully everyone else out there is motivated as well. Meb, where can people find you online, as if it's hard?
Gene, people can go to marathonmeb.com, and whether it's looking for autographed books through my books, or they want to get speaking engagement lined up or other things, there's appearance link, and send us an email, and my brother Howie and I and his colleagues do our best to be able to accommodate everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for walking with us today. Hope everyone out there has enjoyed this as much as I did. It's a beautiful day here in Austin. Hopefully it's beautiful where you are too. And thanks again. Every mom matters. Meb, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That was awesome, man. Beautiful. We should get a photo by the lake when we can, maybe after